Okay, welcome back to this tutorial session. Haven't it took some days for me to post this video. I've been quite busy with some stuff, but I'm back now. Okay, I received some feedback from you guys that I was moving a tad bit too fast, so I'm going to try and slow down and take everything quite slowly. Then maybe I'll do a slight recap of what we've done before and like what's going to be essential. Yeah. Okay, so this is what we're going to be covering today, conditional statements. Yeah, we started in the last class, we started conditional statements for like if, else, and else if. I don't know how much of that it's remember or if you went through the class, but yeah, if you haven't, just go back and watch that video. Okay, so today we'll be dealing with switch, the for loop, very important, do while and break and continue. So let's just jump head on into everything. Okay, so I will open my Visual Studio Code and let's just open the last project we're working on. I think this is it. Okay, yeah. So briefly before we start this class, I don't know how many tasks you went through. In the last video, I gave some tasks that you should do, and I don't know if you did it, but let's just sharply solve those tasks. So task one was if the boy, this is a boy, this is an object for a boy. If the boy is a teenager, log yes, he's a teenager on the console. Else, if he's above the age of 30, log he's an adult. If none of the conditions are met, log no condition was met. So let's just sharply do that. If boy is equals to or less than less or equals to how old is teenager? 19. Sorry, I said boy. If boy does age, yeah, that means that the boy is a teenager. So if the boy is a teenager, we are meant to log yes, he's a teenager. Okay. So if you've forgotten how to open live server, you come to index.html, you right click, then you press open with live server. If that comes up, just allow. Yeah. If this comes up, just allow access. Yeah. Then you press Ctrl Shift J, Ctrl Shift J to open your developer console, or you can click inspect there and just come to console. Yeah, we dealt with this in earlier classes. Okay, so let us go and see. Okay, so if the boy is a teenager, log yes he's a teenager. If he's above the age of 30, log he's an adult. So else if condition was met, sorry, yeah. So this was the first task I gave you. And you see now, if the boy is 19, it's log yes he's a teenager. If he's older than 30, yes he's an adult. Else we log no condition was met. And if we come here, we can see that no condition was met. Yeah, because the boy is 25, so he's not a teenager, and he's not above 30, so he's not an adult. So no condition was met. Okay, so the second task was to try and build a rock, paper, scissors game. Log who is the winner between these two people. Okay, so but this is a little bit more complex, and I hope you try this like at least on your own, because this will help you think more and like try to find a solution. So if okay, you know how rock paper scissors work. Paper beats rock, scissors beats paper, rock beats scissors, right? So we are going to deal with each of those scenarios. Yeah. So if person one picks rock, person two picks this thing like that. So we have to deal with three scenarios. Yeah. Is it three or six? Person one, person two. Yeah, six scenarios. So let's just jump into it. If person one picks, you see person one is equals to, remember we said double this thing. We can even use triple so that we check for type 2. If person 1 is equals to rock and person 2 is equals to paper, you get, that means that okay, rock and paper wins. That means person 2 wins. You get, because paper like wins over rock. So that means person 2 wins. You get. So this is what I wanted you guys to do. You think a little bit more. You say, okay, if this is the situation, then go to the next else if person one picked paper. I should have used three here. If person one picked paper and person two picked rock, then that would mean that you get. Okay, so this is now for rock and paper. So you now do this. Now repeat this process. Yeah, just copy and paste. Sorry, not with else if, not with if rather, because like the condition can only have one if. Then after that, any if you want to do again has to be else if, you get. Then the last will now be else, you get. Okay. So you now do that. You even still copy again and paste it here. Okay. So we've done for rock and paper, then paper and rock, because like if the people interchange now, you still want to be able to deal with that. Then you can now say rock and scissors. Then do it scissors and rock. You get, because there are three possibilities. So if this person picks rock and this person picks scissors, person 2 wins. This person picks scissors like that. Then lastly, you can do for how many combinations are there? Yeah. Lastly, you can do for paper. We done for paper and rock. We done for scissors and rock. So now scissors and paper. Yeah. Scissors and paper. What am I doing? Okay, so now we've done for scissors and paper. If person 1 picks scissors and person 2 picks paper, that means person 1 wins because scissors cuts paper. And if person 1 picks paper and person 2 picks scissors too, then just like as a bonus, you can add the last else. So if somebody picks something that is not rock or paper, you can now say like, you can now log something like in invalid value given or something like that. So if somebody like logs, if somebody picks like or types like um card or something, you get something that is not within that rock paper and scissors. Yeah. Okay, so that's for the task. I hope that did not take any much time. If you want to see this, maybe I can like upload the code somewhere so that you can run it on your own. But it's something you can really something really easy that you can follow through. Yeah. Okay. We can now jump into the main task for today. Switch. Switch. Switch is a different way of saying if and else. It's like a way of dealing with any possibility of a value you may get. For an example, it says switch. Okay, let's start with a variable. So let's say I have a variable, my number, and it is 5. Yeah, switch. So let me write down the snippets before we continue. Okay, case 5. Okay, so let me explain to you what I just wrote. Okay, so let's say we through a process get a number. The number is 5. So this is the way switch works. It will switch the number in all these scenarios. So in a case where the number is 5, it logs the console, my number is 5. In a case where the number is 1, it logs the console, my number is 1. And in a case where it is none, as in none of the above cases have been satisfied, it will just like go to the default. So let us see what. See, it says my number is 5 because it satisfies this case. So whatever you put into these brackets for the switch, is to try and fit them into, like, is to try and find the case that satisfies that. If none of the case like was if none of the case satisfies that, it just like go to this default and run what is in this default. I hope I took that slowly enough. So this is the syntax: switch, then the case is like that, and I think we have it. You can run and test with like more scenarios like that. Okay, so the next thing is the for loop. Very, very, very important. You can't overstate that. The for loop. And there are other ways of like looping through arrays and stuff, but the for loop is actually this is actually the best way to loop through like an array. If I can't, I don't know if you can remember what an array is. I taught it in the class for data types. Okay, something with like, okay, so this is an array of numbers as I explained that day. See, it starts with these braces and it just has values in it separated by comma. So each value before the comma is like a separate value on its own. So this is an array of numbers from like 1 to 9. Yeah. So looping, to loop, like, okay, I don't know if you know what looping is, but looping means like you jump from one to you iterate through the list. You go from like 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6. You deal with everything in that array. That is what looping is. To loop through an array or to like loop through an object. To loop through a list. If you have a list of like 5 boys, you want to loop through them, you start with the boy 1, you go to boy 2, you go to boy 3, you go to boy 4. That's what looping is. Okay. So this syntax is quite hard to catch on easy, but like you have to use it, and after a while you just get used to it. So this is what a for loop looks like. It starts with 4. You can see 4, then a bracket like this. So the first thing you do is to give give a starting value. Let's say, I don't know, we usually just used I. Usually just use I as like as if starting variable. I don't know, it's just you can use anything, but you create a variable and you start that variable on like the first number you want to start with. Don't worry, I'll explain that more. Okay, then next thing you do is set a limit. So just understand that this is the starting value, this is the limit, and lastly is the increment. Yeah, this might be a little bit confusing, but I'll break it down step by step. Okay, so before we understand what this for loop is, let's just visit a simple concept of how arrays work. This is an array. I explained it in some 2 classes back, and each array has a list of values that you can pick from. So what if I wanted to reach value 6 now? If I wanted to get the sixth value, or like this 6 from this array, how do I get that? You have to understand that to understand this for loop. Okay, so my sixth value, let's just give it that, equals to an array 5. Okay, so arrays all come with values called indexes. Arrays all come with values called indexes. This is index 1, this is index 2, index 3, index 4, index 5, index 6, index 7, and so on. So for the first index, if you want to count values in this array based on their index, the first index, that is index 1, is 0. So this one here, if you're counting it, normally you count from 1 to 10, but if you're dealing with JavaScript and arrays and basically all programming language, you don't count from 1, you start from 0. So you start counting 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You get? So now, if you want to access the third value now, like if you want to access this tree, what you are going to say is an array, then you put these curly braces now and put the index of these 2. Let me just, and you see that the value 3 is shown. So don't forget to access any value from an array. Like this is an array of 9 numbers. To access any value, you get the index, you put the name of the array, then just put the index there. So like for 1 is 0. I told you start counting from 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So number 6 is the 5th, as in its index is 5. So when you put 5 here and you save, you see that you get 6. Let's do this with like order. Let's just, let me say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. So now we've changed them to strings now, because I think that's like using numbers could have been quite confusing. So now if we want to access this 7, what's the index of this 7? We start counting 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So index of this 7 now should be 6. So we put my 6th value, an array, then we put the 6, we just save, and we come here, see we've gotten 7. So you use to access any value from an array, you use the index, you count and get the index, and like that. Understand that concept. Whether you use index 6 now, you see 7. If you use index 8, and you see 9, like that. I hope that is really clear. I hope that's clear. Okay, so now we can get back to the for loop. For a for loop, what you do is that you say, okay, you set a starting value. I is equals to 0. So you are going to start from index 0. Abi? Then the next thing you do is that you set a breaking point. The point that when it reaches is going to stop. So that means I is always going to be less than the length of the array. Then lastly, you put the increment. So that means you want I to be increasing by 1 on each try. That is what this I plus plus means. Yeah, I should be increasing by 1. Okay, so we now just go to my array. sorry, an array, and just put I here, and we can log that to the console. Okay, so we can see that it has looped through everything. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This loop kept on going on till like we met this breakpoint and it now stopped. So 9. Let me remove this first one so you see it clearly. See 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This loop actually went through this array and was picking. So it started with an index of 0 because we created a new variable I that is 0. Then we set the breakpoint. I is less than the array length, then the incrementation value. You might not like just try and cram this syntax. That is just the truth of the matter. Just cram the syntax and know how to use it. Don't think too much about technicality. It just has 3 areas: the starting point, the breaking point, and the increment. Okay. I don't know if this is clear enough. Hopefully it's clear enough. Anything you need clarification on, just leave a comment and I'll add that in my next video. So that is the for loop. I don't know how long this video is already. I'm trying not to pass. 20 to 30 minutes so the videos are not too long and you're not like packing too much stuff in your head. So let's just sharply do a do while loop or while loops. Okay, so for a while loop, let's say we have a variable 5. This variable is 5 now, and you know, let's just say gender or gender male. Okay, so gender male is equals to true. Am I a boy? As in, is my gender male is true. So if you want to like have a continuous loop that keeps on going on while my gender is true, this is what we do. We use a while loop. Hope I'm not moving too fast. Yeah. Okay, so this is how while loops work. For loops, it has a breaking point and stop. So when that breaking point is met, it will stop. It will stop the loop. But this while loop, as long as this gender male is equals to true, it's keep on going. It's keep on going. It's just keep on logging this. So I think my system is already even overloading because of this while loop. Don't just leave any while loop on like that. If not, it can actually like have bad effects. It will overlog your stack. And you see the tab has hooked. My whole Chrome has hooked. So never use a while loop that is just going to be continuous. Even though it just keep on logging, he's a boy, 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 as in, and it will overload your computer's memory. So don't do that. You have to always, whenever you're using a while loop, always set a breakpoint. So you see, like after this, I can now say that get so that the while loop can stop. And oh god, this thing is still hooked. Let me fix that before I continue. Okay, so no matter what you do, don't run a while loop without like breaking it. See, now I put like he's still a boy. So while gender male is equals to true, it will log he's still a boy. Then it will change gender male to false. You get. So it just runs it once because like after the first time it changes to false. But if you remove this and run it, it just keep on writing he's still a boy like indefinitely, and that is going to hook your laptop. Don't do that. Don't do that. It will overload the stack and it will hook your laptop. Yeah, flood the memory. So that is how while loops work. It's to search and it's to do that. Okay, my network's still on. Oh shit. Okay, I think I can still remember. Okay, so that is what a while loop does. The next thing we'll do is to like look at the do while, do while loop. Let me check that. So this is a while loop. Is to search for a condition. If that condition is met, it keep on running that till that condition becomes false. You get, when the condition becomes false, it's to stop running the while loop. That is how while loops work. So let me just sharply give another example. Let me just show you something. Remove this. Okay, so this is another example of the while loop. So it says that while the number is less than 5, console.log. Let me change that. The number is less than 5. So while this number is less than 5, it will keep on doing this. And then you can see number plus plus. I don't know if I explained this plus plus syntax. This plus plus syntax means that it will add, as in it will increment the value. To increment this number by 1. So each time you run this, it increments this number by 1. Let's just put the number here so that you can also see. You can also see that number. Okay. So you see the number is less than 5, the number is 0, number is less than 5 is 1. It keeps on adding like that till it reaches a point. You get, so while the number is less than 5, it keeps on doing that. Then it keeps on incrementing the value here. When that is done, it will stop. Never run a while loop continuously. If not, it will hook your console. This is like the third time I'm saying that. Okay, so we can just continue to the next thing, do while. Okay, so do while is just like do. It's just like while, just that while will run the first line of code. As in, to if the condition is not met, it will never run. But do while will run the code once. Okay, this is the code I am to run. Let's give it a variable case. So let's say the number is 5. So if the number is 5, it will keep on running what is in this do loop. But the number is not 5. You get? Let me just show you. Okay. Sorry, not number. Num. Okay. So you see that in this case, the number is 0, and we put a do while loop. This the do while loop like this. So while the number is 5, it will keep on logging this. You get? But you can see that the number is actually not 5, but it still ran the code. So the way do while loops work is that they will run what is in do before they reach the while. So they'll run it will start and it will run what is in this thing, then it come and check for the condition. If the condition is still right, it will run it again, come and check for the condition. If the condition is still right, it will run it again, you get. So that is how do while works. You see, while if this was in a while loop, it will never run because like the while loop before it runs the code, it will check the condition. But in a do while loop, it will run the code before it checks the condition. So that is the only difference. Like the syntax is different. You get. Okay, so I know you're wondering how is this actually applicable? Yeah. While loops are very applicable. If you want to say you have a very long list, you have a very long list of let's say 1,000 numbers, and you want to stop at number 500. So you can say while the number is less than 500, you keep on running. So when it reaches 500, to stop that while loop. Yes, an easier way of doing that is a way of looping through like really large lists and stuff like that. Yeah. Then this do while, you see, it's run before, but like I can count the number of times I've used this while coding. Like, but it's just better to know, it's like know the syntax so that you can find the easiest way. Uh-huh. Okay, so the last thing we are going to be covering for today is what we call break and continue. How do you stop a while loop, or how do you stop a loop? To stop a loop, you use something called break. You get, so let's say you reach a point. Okay, you're increasing the value of number every time it loops, and you can now say if the number is greater than 5, or if the number is equals to 7, then you break. I really hope I'm not moving too fast. Okay, so you see now it starts with the number 0, and the while loop is while the number is equals to 5, is keep on looping. So this loop is not even meant to run through at all. So okay, let's see what the number is less than 5. So or less than 10. Abi? So while the number is less than 10, it's keep on running this loop. But when it reaches 7, let's be logging the number so that we can see. So that we can see what we are doing. Okay. So this break, whenever you put break like this, like break, it will stop the loop. So you see, normally this while loop is meant to end on 9, because while the number is less than 10, so it will go from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, like that. That is normally how it's meant to go. But in this case, we said if the number is 7, break. So just stop. Break means to just stop the loop. That is a way to stop a while or a do while loop. Use the break command. So it's just, see, it stopped at 6. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And because the number is 7, to just break that, it just stop at that point. You get? So that is what you use break for. Okay, so that's it. We are done for today. I will see you in the next video, the next class rather. Yeah. Have a nice day.